Fast and bulbous.
That's right, the mascara snake. Fast and bulbous.
I'm the backwards man, the backwards man, the backwards man, the backwards man. I can walk backwards fast as you can. I can walk backwards fast as you can. I'm the backwards man, the backwards man. I can walk backwards fast as you can. I'm the backwards man, 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 the backwards man. I can walk fast as you can. I can walk backwards fast as you can. Welcome to the Sunday Movie Marathon.
Hello.
I was just
Hello,
trying not to
all.
get picked up on the mic.
Thanks for reminding us all of the cinematic classic that is Freddy Got Fingered. Well, one of the greats.
It is. We watched
You
it
say
back in
that.
the day, didn't we, Chris? Because for some reason we watched a bunch of shit movies, like Norman the North, Food Fight, where I lost my soul, and one of them was Freddy Got Fingered. And I guess I just repressed that, honestly,
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
I watched
I
it
think-
again and I was like, what the
I
hell
think
is
about
this?
that sausage thing all the time, so...
Oh god, yeah.
I've seen that film so many times now, and I don't know why. It's just, it's so batshit insane, and it's so bad. But I have like a soft spot for it.
Yeah, I hate it so much, but talking about it and thinking back to it is really funny.
Yeah. It makes
But I
me
would never watch it
cringe
again.
really badly, but
Yeah, it's just...
like the bit where he jerks off a horse, that bit is just grim.
Oh god, yeah. Yeah, it's horrible. There's some horrible shit in that movie. I like the part where he swings the baby around in the hospital.
I feel like we should never speak about this movie.
We'll save it for a
Shit.
future episode when we watch
Actually
it.
watch it, yeah.
Oh, please. I don't want to watch that ever again. Please don't do that to me. Well, episode 34. We made it. 34 weeks. We've been going, and it feels like the first day every time. Wow. Can you believe it?
Yeah.
What changes we've been through.
We only missed like, wasn't it a week or two in the end? There was like
Yeah.
a period where there was like a couple of weeks without an episode, and then we got back into it and haven't missed one since.
Don't jinx
Yeah.
it, because this is what happens now. You guys are like, oh, how brilliant it is to be back. We're going to do every week, and then by next week, Chris will be like, oh, you know what, yeah.
Yeah, we find out this one didn't actually record. That's it.
Or none of
That
us
tears it.
finished Westworld in time for the next episode.
Well, actually, the little lady did say this meeting, meeting is being recorded. What the hell happened there?
Yeah.
I can't speak. I've had enough.
Honestly, I've
Motor-
been so busy over the last few days. I haven't really had much time to watch Westworld, but I just binged like a few episodes today, so I'm kind of back on track with that.
yeah.
Thank God.
We've watched like two
Two,
episodes
yeah.
so far, so
Yeah. Oh well, then I'm further ahead than you guys, and no problem. But that's on the next episode when I want to talk about it. This episode, that's for episode 35. So I think we all watched a movie that came out on Netflix and just kind of dropped, and that is Bo Burnham Inside. We all
We
watched
did
this, right?
indeed. Yes, we did.
It was kind of like, we haven't really heard much from him in terms of like comedy stuff in the last like 5 years. Apparently he took a break from comedy. Now he's back, or he did this like little film where he filmed himself during lockdown, and it's kind of like a musical. A lot of music in there, and it's also kind of about just like his slow decline during lockdown. I think we can all kind of relate to that in part. I know I did. It was very
Oh.
funny because he's a funny guy, so you kind of expect that from him, but it's also very introspective and very sad. It was very sad.
yeah, especially towards the end where you can like see the like emotional toll, the fact that he's been like stuck inside this long and has spent so much of his life working on this special has had on him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I gotta
There's something
say.
quite-
Oh,
No,
go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Darcy. All right.
Oh,
If you insist, I'll go ahead.
Ooh.
The music is fantastic. After this, I watched the specials of his that were available on Netflix. So I watched what was that one, like Be Happy or something?
Make happy, I think.
Make Happy. Yeah, I watched that one, and I watched What, and it's insane because like he's improved so much, I think, as a musician, as a comedian, and just as an artist overall. The contrast with these earlier performances it's just insane. He's gotten better at like composition. He's gotten better at singing, like with his vocals. It's really, really great to see.
Yeah, I going into this, I'd never watched any like full specials. I'd seen like clips of his stuff, and I was never really like massively into it. But after loving this special, I watched and it definitely was nowhere near as good. I found it funny still, but I did think it hasn't really aged that well at all, and B, I feel like it's very, very hit or miss. Whereas this is like, there's like maybe a couple bits that I didn't find quite as funny as the rest, but for the most part, this is incredibly consistent.
Yeah, there are some lulls, maybe like slightly, ever so often inside, but generally I agree, very consistent with itself. I thought like for just one guy making it, and just in like one room, the production was just fantastic. The cinematography is like better than like just the mainstream movies you see today. It's insane how well it was choreographed and how well it was edited and put together. I loved it so much.
Yeah, you can definitely tell that he's obviously learned a lot from obviously making his own movie in between doing the last comedy special and making this.
Yeah, I like 8th Grade. That was a good movie.
Yeah,
I enjoyed it a lot.
I forgot about that.
But this is very different to that, obviously. Do we have like a favourite song? If you guys can, like, I just watched it like for the second time, like just now. But if you guys can remember anything,
I really loved the White Woman on Instagram song.
You know what? That's the only one I like remember the name of.
Yeah, that was like the catchiest song. I've had it literally on loop in my head all day. I also really, really liked, there's towards the end, he just does like an acoustic song. And it is funny, but it's like also quite serious at the same time. And it's like genuinely a really, really beautiful song.
Yeah, just sat there playing on the acoustic. It was really great. Yeah, I agree. I like the part where like he's doing a song with like a sock on his hand, and all of a sudden it turns into like this like political. So he's like, it's kind of like this nursery rhyme type of thing for kids, and then all of a sudden like the sock talks about like different political issues and like corporations taking us over, and it gets like super Orwellian in a way, where he's like, it's the socks talking about how we live under like the thumb of the corporate elite and like they control us all, and then Bo like threatens to take him off his hand, and which would like kill him, and the sock's just like screaming, he's like begging him not to do it, and just like he's like, please don't do it, and he's just trying to be submissive, and he's like, please, and he's like, please what? Please sir. He's like, are you gonna be all right? He's like, yes sir. It was
that was great.
Almost horrifying.
Yeah, it was kind of uncomfortable, and it was just a sock.
Relatable though. Relatable comedy.
No, that white woman Instagram was very relatable to this white woman on Instagram.
Yeah, exactly. I too related to that.
Yeah. There's a few parts throughout that are also like just straight up sketches. Like, it reminds me of something you'd see like just on YouTube, like a YouTube sketch. Like, there's a bit, one of my favourite bits in the film is the bit where he's doing like a let's play, where he's like basically streaming this fake game that's just, he's controlling himself, and he's like walking around the room and he's pressing X to cry, and he's not really doing anything. He's just like gets up off his chair, walks around, sits back down, cries again. That was very relatable. That was kind of summed up the first lockdown for me, at least.
I thought you were going to bring up the sexting thing.
No. The sexting song was also good.
It was.
Yeah.
It came out of nowhere for me, but I loved it.
Where he compared his penis to looking like the baby from Eraserhead.
I never heard Chris chortle before, but I think that was a time for me.
I thought you'd like that, yeah. Oh, that part, it's like this really short song where he's like lamenting like the unpaid interns like today and like exploiting labor, and then it just like smash cuts to like him reacting to that video, and then it just keeps like going and going as he reacts again and again to like his own commentary.
That was really funny as well.
There's a bit of scatting in that as well.
Yeah, we have the subtitles on.
Yeah,
I'm guessing you did as well. It just says scatting in little quotes.
We all have a bit of scatting. That happened.
I know you do.
Maybe twice or 3 times, maybe during the whole thing.
Yeah,
we love to see it.
It's the best bit about watching Futurama is that if you've got the subtitles on, it just regularly says Bender scats.
Yeah, oh yeah. That's always a warm, fuzzy feeling within me when Bender scats. Yeah. What else do I want to say? I love the song like I'm Turning 30, where he turns 30 in lockdown, which is like just is portrayed as such a sad thing, and he's just like really fed up with everything. Then it turns into this like great song with like really peppy, upbeat electronic vibes going along, saying like he's turning 30 and like he's like saying that all his stupid friends are having stupid children, and like the lighting is like purple and pink, and it's all so well done. Yeah,
it's great. I think he does a great job of blending like emotional moments as the film progresses. Like later on, it can like suddenly cut from like Bo like sat there literally crying, and then suddenly it will just like cut to something that's meant to be funny, and I think it works really well, because I feel like sometimes that sort of emotional shift could be quite jarring, but it really fits the tone of and what he's trying to go for in the special.
Yeah,
there are parts even where I just feel like that you don't know what you're supposed to be feeling. Like, should you be laughing? Should you be like sad? Because it's like a really dour moment, but like it's also like there are tad hints of like comedy, so it's just like very conflicting feeling. Like in the 30 song, he's like talking about like growing up, and he fears growing up and losing the moments from his youth, and just how he's not prepared for it, or just like he wants more of his youth back, and then the chorus is just like calling his friends stupid and their kids ugly.
Yeah. There was a bit where he like right at the beginning he makes a joke about how he's like, he says that this special's the only thing that's keeping him from putting a bullet in his head. And there's like a bit later on where he like references back to that and says, I was just joking and I'm not actually going to kill myself. I've had friends that killed themselves and it really sucked.
Yeah.
And that was like quite a poignant moment.
Yeah, like,
that was funny though.
Yeah, like I laughed, but I thought, hot damn. Cause,
like, don't do that.
Yeah, like,
don't do that.
Don't do
I've had it happen to me,
fun.
and it's not very fun. Oh, dear. I love the Anything and Everything song, which is just about like internet culture and how we have like the world at our fingertips, where we're just like bored and like you don't really know what to do with it or use it to its full potential. It's like this really peppy song. He's just like wearing sunglasses, and I felt like the choreography in that song, where he's just like he has to turn the lights on with his own hands because he's the only one here, and he's got to turn like the lighting on or off, and he's got to play the piano and he's got to sing. It's so fantastically choreographed.
Yeah, it's the whole thing is like very admirable. It was literally just this one person doing all of this by himself in his house. Like it's crazy how much he was able to achieve, and I think that's what makes it so great for me. Like our friend of the podcast, Kai, he watched this special, and he isn't a fan of Bo Burnham, like generally. And he even said he didn't find the special super funny, but he like really enjoyed it and thought it was just really like inspiring to see how he did all of this himself.
You see at the beginning where he has that light thing where he changes the colours of the lights. I actually am inspired to buy one for myself because I would love to change the colour of my lights depending on how I feel.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like, you can say it's inspiring and all, and it kind of is. I got that feeling too. I was like, wow, like this guy can just do this, and maybe I could do something like this as well. I could go out of my way to make art in the way that I want to, and just have it be this kind of unbridled splash of paint on the canvas. But then, like, he's got all this like crazy high-tech equipment, and I'm like, I'm so poor, I can't afford any of this stuff.
That's exactly it. You think,
I don't
how
have
do
a
I do
shed
that
that
on
I
a
can just do things in. I don't have the space to do all this. Or just like, I have neighbours, you know?
Yeah. But for me, as someone who like makes my own music and like records and self-produces everything like that all by myself, that kind of, it made me feel like more motivated to just carry on doing stuff by myself and experimenting and trying to do all this stuff with what I have at my disposal. Obviously, I don't have the money that he has or the ability to do the things that he's doing, but still.
But then, you know, he worked his way up to this, you know?
Yeah, of
He
course.
didn't start out like he is
you saw
now,
his other
obviously.
specials.
Yeah. Oh, I certainly did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love how it ends with like, it's like a Charlie Kaufman movie at the end, where he's like, just comes out of the shed, this huge like studio shed type of thing. And it's just like this, you think he's out in like the streets and he can see everyone, but it's just like this one spotlight and it's just dark and he's wearing like just all in white. And I felt like I didn't really expect like metaphor to come into this, but it was like he died and gone to heaven or something, and everyone was like laughing with him, or just like they were laughing at him when he couldn't get back inside.
Yeah, I don't know. I felt really uncomfortable when I started hearing all this like canned, jarred laughter. It was just freaked me out, and the fact that he was sitting there watching himself was also freaking me out a little bit.
Yeah.
Imagine if that Shia LaBeouf thing all over again, where he's like watching himself.
He does that a lot though, like canned laughter. He like presses a button where like he thinks people would laugh at his songs, and he lets out like canned laughter.
Yeah, and you get one of the last songs comprises mostly, like, starts off with him basically kind of doing a stand-up routine with fake laughter, where he like talks very seriously about why he quit stand-up and how he felt ready to go back into it before COVID happened and kind of ruined all his plans. And yeah, I thought that bit was really great as well.
Yeah. He's like, he's doing that video where he's saying, don't kill yourself. And then it like hard cut to like him, maybe it's like months later because like his hair's grown, his beard's grown out. And like he's like doesn't cut his hair through that entire thing. So it's just, you see how bedraggled he gets. And he's just watching like this video of him telling people not to kill themselves. He just looks so defeated.
Yeah. It's a very emotional special. I wasn't expecting it to be quite as sad as it was, but it was also very funny and very inspiring.
Yeah, definitely. If I were going to give it a rating, probably like, I mean, it's pretty flawless to me. I loved it. I watched it again even. So I'll probably give it like a 10 out of 10, honestly. I think people are loving it as well.
Yeah, I'd probably go the same.
I was holding for dramatic effect. No, is this the second perfect score? Or is there more than? How many is there now?
There's quite a few. I don't know if we've had a perfect score since you've joined.
Woo woo!
Well, there we go. There we have it.
Did I do that?
There it is. Bo Burnham inside. Fantastic. Thanks, Bo.
It is. I highly recommend checking it out, even if you're not a fan of Bo Burnham's previous stuff.
Yeah, you'll relate. It's a relatable comedy.
Yeah. He has a lot to say about the world at the moment as well.
Definitely. Yeah. Did you guys have anything else you wanted to talk about, or should we just dive right into the movies?
No, I think we're good to jump in.
Brilliant. So we watched some movies. We did the £1 marathon, finally. Again, for the first time in a few months. Maybe like 6 months even. And, well, it's a mixed bag of movies. but we're going to talk about them. We got together and we just binged through them. What a night it was.
Yeah. For those who don't know about the £1 marathon, it's basically we all go to CEX and each pick a film from their £1 section. It used to be 50p, but they decided to up it to £1. And we pick a film that we think sounds interesting, and we all watch it in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it was a very interesting bag this week.
Yeah.
Yes, interesting.
Say that
being the
again.
word. Right.
All right, well, we'll just get into this shit then, because...
Yeah, let's go for it. I like how Chris is bringing up his movie because he's like, what the hell was that even about?
I don't remember any of this. What is this
about?
movie?
I remember what it was about. I was looking up when it was from and who directed it. So
Yeah.
I picked an incredibly epic movie. I knew as soon as I looked at the cover that it was going to be amazing. I was very disappointed that the dog that's on the cover wasn't actually in the film.
Yeah, what is that all about?
There's just a picture of a dog on the cover, which has nothing to do with the movie. My film was...
you know, dogs are cute.
Yeah.
That's what sells.
My film was The Invisible Kid from 1988, directed by Avery Krantz. It's a film about a teenage scientist who accidentally discovers his father's formula for invisibility. And by that, I mean he finds this formula that his dad made, which it turned out to be for something completely different. And when a bird shits in it, he somehow discovers the power of invisibility. And he decides to use it to take revenge on the people who wronged him with his best friend. And they also, of course, spy on the girls as well, because that's what you do when you're teenage.
So, for anyone listening right now, I think me and Max have completely lost it. It was a movie.
So this movie was one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my entire life. It was so bad. Oh my god, it was awful. Holy shit. I couldn't believe it. I mean, I knew it was going to be bad, but Jesus Christ, not this bad. I mean, what the hell?
You, this film was amazing.
It sucked. Stop giving me that, man. It sucked. All right. It was awful. It was so bad. It looked awful. The acting was terrible. And just, like, of course they're going to use invisibility, superpowered invisibility to like pinch girls' asses and boobs and fucking look at them while they're changing in the locker room. It's not very subversive. It's not. It's just it goes exactly where you think it's going to go, and nothing surprised me, but like in the same vein, everything surprised me because holy shit, it was awful.
So if you've ever seen like any sort of teenage comedy from the 80s, like I don't know, like Fast Times at Ridgemont High, or like any of the John Hughes movies like The Breakfast Club and that sort of shit, this is kind of just that. It's very horny. It's very cliched. Follows like every single trope that you'd expect a cliched teen comedy would. And yeah, there's not really a lot special about it except from the fact that it's the best movie I've ever seen.
Well, I'm actually quite offended that you'd compare it to the Brat Pack, but I understand where you're coming from. It did have that knockoff American Pie vibe to it.
Yeah. It's a film, all right.
See, he's actually lost for words because the film was just so
I've got
bad.
quite a lot of notes, but it's like I've just noted down things that happen, so I don't really even know where to begin.
But all of these things were quite funny, but I think it's funny for all the worst reasons.
Yeah. It's weird that this is a comedy where the things that made us laugh were not the jokes.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I'm looking at what you've written, and it's funny because that would not make you laugh.
It's very similar to The Prince and the Surfer in that way.
No, because The Prince and the Surfer is something special, I think, honestly. And, you know, yeah, it's a bad movie, whatever. Of course it's bad, but it's bad in a special kind of way, and this is bad in a bad kind of way. It's just There's nothing about it, man. There's nothing about it because like I can't like sure, put me in front of Prince and the Surfer. I could rant about that all day long, all the live long day. I could rant about Prince and the Surfer. There's nothing to it, honestly, and it says a lot that that's not even the worst culprit in this episode. But we'll get onto that later.
No.
Like Grover, the main character, I'm like, that's a dog's name, man. Why'd you call him Grover?
Yeah, Grover was a weird name choice, I think.
I mean, he was a pretty weird character.
Yeah.
He was clearly a person who was going through puberty at the time, because literally every single sentence his voice cracked, and so much of his lines are him like shouting, and like every single thing his voice cracks, and there was like so many lines where his voice sounded awful and all of us laughed just at the delivery.
Was he the main one?
Yeah.
Okay, who was the other one? What was his name?
I don't know. Some of his delivery when he was like shouting or screaming reminded me of Sammy Classic Sonic fan when he like screams when you learn your actions have consequences, like the way his voice got that high, it reminded me of that.
I just realised who you're talking about as well.
Yeah, it was a bit like that. His mum was like Deborah. She sucked.
Deborah.
She was so bad.
Max.
Fuck yeah. Deborah. Yeah, she sucked, man. It's like they read the script and they were like, how do you pronounce this name? Deborah. Okay, we'll do that. No, it's not pronounced that way. You stupid idiots.
And also, Max, don't forget, she's actually credited on everything as Mom.
Yeah, even in the film. It's not even like just on the DVD or on IMDb or something. In the film, she's credited as that as well.
But they say her name like 1,000 times, so I don't know why they didn't just call her Deborah.
They make a big deal about the fact her name's Deborah as well.
Yeah, like literally every scene is, Deborah, you're a mess. Deborah, you're a pushover.
She is also batshit insane.
Yes, agreed.
Yep.
Also,
it's like
this
going
guy's
into a
name's
son's room.
Milton.
She's like, why are you like this, Grover? Why are you like this? Your father was insane. I don't want you turning insane. You and your magic potions. How could you get out of your room? She was too much.
Yeah.
Yes, it was a bit over the top, wasn't it?
And she like constantly watches like this. I don't know what he would be, like a TV psychiatrist or some shit. Like
Dr. Phil, but shit.
Yeah, and she like always calls in and like it's like this guy with this really obviously fake German accent. He's like, "Hello, Deborah."
Having trouble with your horrible son again, are you? Yeah. She's always calling about her son, Grover.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
he's making weird green goo again. He's making the green goo. He's making flubber in my own house.
Which is a ultimately better movie.
Yeah, what the fuck was that about? Like the goo, he like makes some green goo because a bird takes a crap in some of his invisible sand, and then like this green like venom type parasite thing just like goes onto him, goes onto his arse, and he walks into school. He's got this green stuff on him. No one takes him up on it. No one's like, "Hey man, you got some shit on your ass." No, he's slopping it all over the floor. He sits down to go to class, and then his teacher just like looks at him. He's like, "You." I'm like, okay, nobody's going to mention that he's got flubber hanging from him.
Yeah, it's literally climbing up his back and like pulsating. And there's a bit where he's in the principal's office with his mum, and it's still there, and no one said anything about it. Yeah, it's literally on his shoulder, and no one said anything about it.
But did anyone else find it kind of weird that the blubber afterwards was just like null and void, like it never came up again because they were like, there's this powder.
Yeah.
So what was the point of the flubber?
It meant nothing, just like this movie.
It was just nothing.
And then the green goo says, "I was a loser on my home planet. We are Venom."
Venom.
We are the Invisible Kid.
They're always naked in this movie because it's like, what is it, 15? It's got to be a 15.
Yeah.
Is there, naked people in it? They're
Yeah,
always naked.
boobies.
Oh yeah, there's lots
Why
of
do
boobies.
they need to do that?
For anyone who cares.
Yeah. Well, there was like we were watching the film, and I was like, this is like really tame for a 15. And then suddenly there's just like a scene with like 10 different naked women in the changing room. And that's like pretty much the only reason why it's a 15. If you take that out, it could probably be a PG.
No, there's another reason why it was a 15. That gross phrase, I can see it there. Max's favourite scene, he rewound about 4 times just to hear it over and over again.
Oh yeah, so Grover's friend Milton, who like also has the invisibility powder, he decides he's gonna creep on Grover's neighbour, who's like the love interest for some reason.
Cindy?
I think so. Even though like her and Grover have no chemistry throughout the entire film, they just like fall in love randomly out of nowhere.
Yep.
But, what do you mean they're doing chemistry?
Ha ha ha.
Oh yeah,
it's gadoosh. So
Milton makes himself invisible and slowly walks up to the door and like says something like, "I'm coming, my little sex kitten."
Yep.
He
says like, if at first you don't succeed, lie, cheat, and steal, right, my little sex kitten? And I rewound that like 3 times. I was like, what?
I hated that so much because I said, I never want to see that again. It made me cringe. And then Max went, well, I'm going to rewind it again. Just
and
so
again and again.
It was vile.
Yeah. What did we think about the principal?
What, the one who was, he spoke very like strangely, like his speech pattern was like, and there we go again. And I'm like,
yeah,
what?
He like spoke like a really cliched villain. And there was like multiple shots where it would like look at him and he's like gurning and he looked exactly like Gilbert Gottfried.
Maybe he was gurning, because to be in this movie, you have got to be on some serious shit.
And for some reason, he gets like followed around by these 2 bad guys who are like, weren't they like from the rival school or something, because he'd like rigged the basketball match or something, and it literally just reminded me of like something from a David Lynch movie.
Are you talking about that guy who was like, your pigeon is trying to fly or something like that, and he was like wearing sunglasses?
Yeah,
there's one of those 2 guys in the school with sunglasses. I was like, they look like they're out of Twin Peaks or something.
Yeah. So much of like just those scenes like were very Twin Peaks-esque, like just how like jilted the dialogue was, how soap opera-esque the acting is very like out of that show.
Didn't the principal have like, it wasn't his name Avery? Like,
No.
I think one of the characters was called Avery.
That was the basketball player from the other team. He was called Avery.
One of them was called Avery.
Or had Avery as a last name, one of the 2.
That was the director's name. Just wanted to put that in there because clearly he loves this movie so much he's got to put his own name in there. He's got to name a character after himself.
Well, that's quite sad, actually.
At least he didn't act in it, I guess.
No, true director, passion project of his, The Invisible Kid. He really wanted to make it.
One of only 3 films he ever directed.
Oh man, well, how can you really top this?
That is...
There's a part where the principal goes into his office and then like Grover's hiding under his desk and then the principal just lets out a big fart.
Yeah, how like it was like that immature humour that you do get from those sort of like teenage movies where it's like, haha, fart joke, funny.
I wrote down epic fart joke.
And
I didn't know what it, I couldn't remember it, so I'm glad that you reminded me what that meant.
I also like underneath it, there's epic car chase, if you remember rightly.
That was epic.
So
you gotta give it to him.
One of the subplots in the film is about Grover's mum, who like she thinks that Grover's selling drugs, so she calls the police. And there's this police officer who just like they fall in love with each other because they both watch this like TV doctor, and they both call in and they're like, "Oh, I know you." And this cop, I think he's called Chuck or something.
Yes, it's Chuck.
He like shows up multiple times after that, and she's like just like so obsessed with him suddenly, and he finds out about this invisibility thing, and they have to get to the school quickly to stop the principal from rigging this match or some shit. And there's like a huge car chase where this cop guy is driving along and there's another cop chasing him, and it's pretty epic.
And then the
there
chickens get on the car and he's
Yeah.
driving the chickens around. I was
Yeah.
like thinking back to that and I was like, what? Like separate from the movie, I didn't know, understand like how this image got into my head. And then I had to like look at my notes. I was like, oh, it's from this movie. Like the chickens are on the car.
Yeah.
And they go through a car wash and like the chickens are just fine, I guess. They're still there. Or like, he goes through the car wash.
Yeah, it goes backwards.
And he goes, and the chickens are on the car. And he goes into the car wash. And he gets out and the chickens aren't there anymore. We're like, oh my God, the chickens are dead. And he reverses back through the car wash. And when he gets out, the chickens are there again.
Yeah. There's also a bit where they like drive up a ramp and the cop that's following them also drives up the ramp, but there's a pig on the ramp. And it looks like this guy's just like run into this pig and somehow the pig ends up in the back of the car wearing a police helmet.
He's sitting in the front seat with him, like in the next seat over. It was so
Either
weird.
way, it makes no sense.
How does that happen?
No way he could have gotten in there. He just randomly like
was he wearing
teleported
sunglasses as well, the pig?
Probably.
Fucking weird.
Because it was epic. I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Jumper, but
I have.
No.
I'm pretty sure the pig had those superpowers.
Well,
Yeah.
that might
And then
explain it.
There was that nun with a box of kittens, and she gets hit by a car, and the kittens just go everywhere.
Oh yeah, like there was a box of like little black kittens.
They somehow all land back in the box, except for the one kitten you
Who
see
flies,
hit the windscreen.
Oh.
Oh no! The nun died.
Yeah.
Oh dear. Okay, I'm gonna get into some heavy stuff here, but there was quite a bit of racism in this movie. I'm not gonna lie. Next to like, well, I'll just remind you so that you don't name a bunch of things that you think are racist. But there's like mascots that they have for these basketball games, and because they're the bears,
I remember now. Yes.
There's like a bunch of like black bear costumes with like wide red lips. I'm like, oh, you can't do that.
Yeah, I actually had forgotten about that. Yeah, that was really, really weird. I don't know why. One, they didn't even look like bears, so I don't know how you could even excuse it. And two, just why? Who watched this film and went, do you know what? That'll be all right. We'll just go with it.
1988. Come on, man. You know better.
I was actually kind of shocked when I looked up the year this came out after watching it, because it literally feels like something from the very early 80s, and not even like a good like film that's just like out of like it feels dated. It's a bad film that feels dated.
Yeah, I feel like it's sort of it almost gives me that sort of like shock humor, like, oh my god, they're sexually harassing everyone, oh my god, this film's racist, oh my god, this film's meant to be like funny, but it's not funny, it's just offensive.
Yeah, but obviously at the time they probably didn't intentionally want to make it racist or make it offensive or anything like that. That was just kind of,
I don't know, if you're going to be like doing a subplot about getting like invisible and then being naked and then like, you know, slapping girls' asses at cheerleading matches and stuff, that's pretty intentional. I would
that's
go about saying.
I feel like that was kind of a product of its time, because there's so many teen 80s comedies that are very like that, like Porky's and stuff. And obviously when you get to the 90s, you get like American Pie and Road Trip and all those sort of films that are very similar.
Oh yeah, I totally understand it, but I couldn't say it was an accident. It is 100% a story that they had intentionally written in. Much like maybe the costume design. Do you know what I mean? I mean, it might have been unfortunate.
I'm not giving them any leeway. They knew what they were doing.
They
I don't care if it was from 88. Like, honestly, and it doesn't matter that they were like, oh, this is just a stupid, dumb B movie that no one's going to see. I'm going to put some of my prejudices in there and no one's going to call me out on it. Like, no, man, I'm not going to give it an aside. I'm not going to give it any room to, like, defend itself with that shit. It was horrible.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, because
fuck this
I
film.
think the first thing that we noticed was just how like racially ambiguous all the costumes were. And I think if we had noticed that, did they not notice that when they were like making it? Or did they just not give a shit? I don't know.
They just don't care. I think they can have a bit of fun. making girls take their clothes off and just filming it for a movie, and it's fine because it's a movie.
Yeah.
Of course.
People who made this movie are assholes. I don't care.
To be fair, there's next to like no one in this film, and basically no one made it. So I think it's just a product of a couple of shitty people.
Yeah.
If they can hear me now, I'm sorry, shitty people.
Yeah. You're out there. We know you people who made The Invisible Kid. We're on to you.
Yeah, you listen to our show.
There's a part where like the police goes into the school and he like to get their attention, where they're in like the broom closet dressed as these racist bears, and he like fires his gun, and I'm like, you can't do that. Just to like get them in order. Like when you shoot like it's such a cliche in movies, like the police just like shoot his gun to get everybody's attention. I'm like, you can't do that. You're even pretty sure you're not allowed to do that without like just cause. Surely.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I actually
Got to
don't
fill
know
out
the
all
laws.
kinds of forms.
Yeah, you have to fill out forms every time you fire your weapon to like say why you did it.
Oh, I didn't know that. Fair enough.
Yeah. On a technical level, I feel like this film's just really badly made.
It
Like,
looks cheap, doesn't it?
yeah, visually it's awful. There's like so many weird camera angles where like the camera is like super close to the characters' faces or at really unflattering angles. That visually it just looks like garbage. The music is awful. It's like really, really cheesy, stock sounding 80s music. Like it's very, very of its time. There was like a bit that I brought up to you guys where there's like a guitar line playing that literally sounds identical to the opening guitar riff from Purple Rain. Like it sounds the exact same. Like you could just tell they just didn't give a shit. Which is like crazy because there was 2 musicians who worked on the score, and it sounds like they literally just like bought a stock CD and used that.
Oh, it sounds like they ripped off like a porno, or they like tried to give the impression of one.
Yeah. I was like looking for screenshots from this movie for the thumbnail for the podcast episode. There is not a single HD photo of this movie.
No.
Well, I'm not really too surprised by that, considering. Do you remember I kept talking about how one of the only things I liked was how like crackly and grainy it was.
Yeah.
There was no way you're going to get a HD
We were like, that's not. You
version of
can't
that.
praise it for that. It's just a sign of the times. They had to film on film.
I know, it's not even intentional.
Yeah,
I think I like.
The transfer on the DVD looks awful.
It does.
It's very, very like there's loads of dirt and like just it looks awful. Like there's multiple bits where the screen will like just there's like a film burn on there. It's not quite as bad as the DVD for Snake Eyes, but we'll get to that later.
Right, can we stop slagging off my choice, please? Because I want to slag it off.
Yeah,
very
we'll
badly.
We
get to
don't know
that
what
later.
that movie's like yet. Maybe it's really good. We don't
Do you
know.
know what? I don't even remember.
Who's to say? We saw like a lot of the strings that they used just hanging there when they were trying to like
See, right. So when I
levitate
first
clothes or
mentioned it,
objects to make them seem invisible.
you guys were deniers. You were like, nah, they're not using string. And then they deliberately made you see the strings, and I was like, told ya.
Yeah, there was like a
Strings.
bit where like a drawer opens and some like clothes and something are being moved around, and you can literally see the light glimmering off the string.
Yeah, I'm not sure we denied there being strings. I just think that like sometimes it was green screen instead of strings, and you could see like the glow of the outline against like a dress that they were trying to make seem like the wearer was invisible.
Oh, yes, especially the invisible bits. That was actually... I mean, I totally understand that regardless it was going to be some sort of like green screen or CGI, because obviously no one is invisible, but it was just a bit embarrassing to watch, actually.
Yeah, the obviously the effects when like you see clothes floating around that look like they're being worn by people, that's green screen. They did the exact same thing with the Invisible Man, like the original Universal Monsters one from, I think it's 1934. And it actually kind of looks better in that film.
Oh, God. That actually
Like,
sounds a lot,
considering
doesn't it?
how primitive technology was back then, and considering like the fact that even that has like not aged the best, it's like still somehow looks better.
Yep, it all looks horrible, and I didn't have a good time watching it. There was a part where like was it Donnie, this like basketball player who's like with the main girl who's the love interest for fucking what's his face?
The guy who's like, oh yeah, if I get a 20-point average on my basketball game, will you suck my cock?
Yeah.
He was a twat.
I'm like, wow. Like, you really need to do that to like get your girlfriend to have sex with you. If she doesn't want to have sex with you, like,
she clearly doesn't want
like
to
you.
Do it.
Just leave her.
It was a little bit. It seemed a little bit rapey to me, to be honest.
She did like Grover.
Yeah.
For some reason.
But yeah, like she didn't like him, really, did she?
It's because he has all the algebra on his walls.
Yeah, he likes talking heads. So
yeah, he has a massive talking heads poster on his door. That was like the coolest thing about him.
Yeah, that lame poster of his dad in his room. That is sad. Like I mean,
don't forget he's also got posters of Aristotle and Einstein.
Do you know what? When I first read that note, I thought it said Aristotle and Eminem. And
I also thought that when I opened up the notes again. I was like, what?
It's the kind of thing that I would actually expect from The Invisible Kid, though.
Yeah, they predicted Eminem.
But she like goes to his house. This is like the first time they're officially meeting. And he's like, yeah, I got this invisible powder. Taste it. And then she like turns invisible. And she's like, oh my God, but my clothes are still here. And he's like, yeah, you got to take your clothes off. But I'll tell you when to put them back on. Don't worry. So she just like takes her clothes off in front of him. I'm like, sure, you're invisible, but like, really?
Yeah, that's the first time you're meeting. Yeah.
And to make it even weirder, the invisibility power, the first time you use it, it lasts like 20 minutes. So she was like just stood there for 20 minutes, invisible. Like, what were they doing during that time? Just sat there. He was just sat there looking at nothing. Yeah. She was just standing there.
To make it worse, it's actually half an hour.
Yeah. And then like his mum comes in. He's like, she like sees like the clothes on the floor and she's like, where is she? Where is that whore? Show me that slut. Where is she?
That was actually super. I mean, it's the fact that like out of nowhere as well, she was like looking behind closets and things, and he's like, you got 30 seconds, you need to get dressed, like as if she's not listening. And then this girl's getting dressed, and then out of nowhere the mum just turns around and she's just sitting on the bed reading a book, and you're like, what the hell?
Yeah, doesn't question it. She's like, I was here all along, you didn't see me even though you were like right here.
Yeah, you were looking under the beds and things, but I'm here.
Mum's probably like embarrassed because she just heard her call her a slut.
Probably one of my favourite parts of the movie, apart from that bit near the end where Chuck comes back and goes, Deborah, I'm going to leave the force so we have more time for our honeymoon. And I was like, you guys met like today, didn't you?
Yeah, they literally meet, he leaves, he comes back the same day, and she's like calling him by his first name or something. He leaves again, comes back the same day, and she's calling him Chucky, and they're like looking at each other like they've had this long, meaningful relationship, even though it's literally all across the same day.
It's just insane.
Guys. You know, well, I'm sorry that you don't believe in love at first sight. I'm sorry you don't believe in true love. I'm sorry you're so jaded. All right, maybe this movie is just not for you.
Damn right, this movie was not for me.
How dare you? This movie was definitely for me.
They go into like the prom thing, and like they're invisible. Like the Grover and his friend are invisible, and they're like trying to get to the front where the band are playing, and they're like tossing people around like up into the air. I'm like, did this also give you super strength? Well, how are you doing this?
Yeah, there's just people flying somehow.
Yeah, I didn't think that. They don't even explain it either. They just go, just move out of my way. And all of a sudden they've got like super punches or something. It's just weird.
Also, one of them goes up on stage and does an epic guitar solo.
Oh, I forgot about that. An invisible epic guitar solo.
These people got their bones broke because they were being thrown around.
Talk about how Milton, like halfway through the movie, gets this random emo haircut and his hair goes purple.
Oh, yeah.
Like, nothing in the film is addressed ever.
It was the invisible powder. Turned his hair purple.
What turns him into like venom?
turned him into a pervert. Oh, I guess they were both perverts.
He was fucking weird. He was all like, I need to take the dust because you're going to make it lame.
You're going to nerd it up. You're going to dork it up. That's like one of the things I hate about this movie as well, is like, despite it being a 15, they refuse to swear, or like the biggest insult they can offer to people is like, you're a dweeb.
Oh, yeah, dweeb is an insult as well. It's just a bit like... It's actually pretty 80s. I'm not even going to lie. Like, people being like, oh, you're such a dork.
Wounded. Pure fire from the lips. You nerd.
I'm so upset.
Why don't you go home and do your homework? Oh, man.
Apparently there was an after-credits scene which we missed.
Oh, what was in the after-credits scene?
It is the mum who bursts into Grover's room and says, get that film crew out of your room.
What?
That was the whole last sequence.
Yeah.
What
it was
the
a
hell?
documentary.
I can't believe it.
That makes no sense whatsoever.
The camera people were actually invisible.
As well as the cameras and all the equipment. And they went into the girls' locker rooms. They just saw this, like, floating cameras.
Yeah, so they incriminated themselves on film. For what?
No, they were invisible.
No, I mean, they went... It was stupid. It was... I don't have any words, guys. I just don't. I can't believe we've been speaking about this film for as long as we have.
I don't know about you guys, but I think we've exhausted this movie.
It's just not worth seeing in any way.
Yep. Get on to the ratings.
Yeah.
And
obviously, we're going to rate it out of Sex Kittens.
Yes.
Of course. Yeah.
I need to see what I even rated it, because I can't remember.
Yeah, I know Max said he didn't have a good time, but I really just enjoyed how bad this movie was. I don't know why. I think it was so painfully bad and so ridiculous that it kind of went back around and was just really funny to me. That being said, this is still a really bad movie. One of the worst we've talked about. And I'm going to give it 1 sex kitten out of 10.
Change the rating back again. I see. Yeah. If I hadn't watched this with you guys, honestly, I'd be dying. Like, just help to have you guys there. Honestly, it was like life support. I honestly thought it was like a nightmare. It's like living through a nightmare. I don't know. Like, if I had to watch this like on my own, if we were doing it in like coronavirus lockdown, I just wouldn't have finished it. I just don't know if I could. It's definitely a movie you need to watch with other people, if at all. Yeah, really awful. 1 sex kitten out of 10.
Well, I originally had this at half a star, but we'll later get onto why I bumped it up half a star. Yeah, no, I mean, I kind of agree with both of you, because if I was watching it on my own, I probably would have turned it off as well. But saying that, I do take quite a lot of comfort in finding things that are so bad that they entertain me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a 1 sex kitten for me, because there's
1 out of 5, you mean?
Well, you know what? Fuck. Yeah. Oh.
So
yeah,
2 out of 10.
2 out of 10,
yeah.
because I suck.
I did bump it up to 1 out of 5 on Letterboxd also, but I'm not really sure I'd stick with that. I don't know.
Oh, there are reasons I bumped it up, but if I was to watch it again, I'd probably bump it straight the fuck back down again. But after the night that we had, I bumped it up because it was the only thing that kept me going.
Yeah.
Which we'll get to.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I know. I'm so sorry. I'm still sorry to this day.
But before that...
A good one.
So, I got a movie before we went into lockdown for £1, and I kind of wanted just to bring it back over. No rules against that. So, I recommended maybe the polar opposite of The Invisible Kid in many ways. This is a 2006 movie directed by Alejandro González Iñárritu called Babel. Great director, Iñárritu. Director of Birdman, which we talked about on the podcast, The Revenant. He's fantastic. We all love him. And Babel, it's a kind of a psychological drama in a way. It takes place over a matter of days, sort of in like non-chronological order, following the stories of different people. You got one story that shows a Moroccan goat herder who buys a 270 Winchester M70 rifle along with a box of ammunition to shoot the jackals that have been preying on his goats. And he gives the gun to his sons, Yusuf and Ahmed, to tend to the herd. Another story, I think, in the movie, follows a couple called Susan and Richard, and they're on a holiday in Morocco, and while on a coach through the desert, Susan, who was played by Kate Blanchett, is shot in the shoulder through the window. Another one of the stories, I think there were like 4 in this, so this is the third one, where it shows Richard and Susan's children, Debbie and Mike, and they're being babysat by their Mexican nanny, Amelia, in the US, who takes them to Mexico for her son's wedding after learning that she's got to take care of the kids for a bit longer due to Susan having been shot. And then the last story takes place in Japan and follows a deaf, non-verbal teen, Chieko, who lives with her father, and she's very self-conscious and unhappy because of her disability, and her story kind of shows the ways in which she tries to feel normal, and she like goes out, she meets new people, and she goes to the club, all that kind of thing. Very dense movie with a lot to talk about, I think. A lot of disparate stories that are all connected in a way by one singular thing. I believe that to be the gun. What do we think of this movie?
Yeah, this film was amazing. I really, really loved this movie.
Sorry, I was waiting for you to... I thought you were going to follow it up.
There's quite a lot to say. I just thought I'd pass it to you first.
A brief overview. I didn't really know what to think about this film going in, because we were reading up the brief synopsis and all this kind of other stuff, and I thought, I'm not sure I'm going to like this because it sounds uber depressing. And don't get me wrong, it is. But there's something quite... I can't think of the word. It's quite... you kind of get hooked on it. You kind of want to know where it's going, and you kind of want to know how it all ties up. And there's something about it that is really super long. And I can't stand super long movies. But there was something really like satisfying about carrying it on, because it was just really interesting.
Yeah. It reminded me quite a lot of Magnolia, which is one of my favourite movies. And just how it kind of constantly amplifies, and the way the film like progresses is there's like a big section where there's like every single storyline is like reaching its like emotional crescendo at the same time, and it gets to the point where it's very, very overwhelming, but that's kind of what makes it so powerful and entertaining to watch. It's like Darcy said, it's like a fairly long movie. I think it's like 2 hours 20 minutes or something. And I actually thought it felt longer, but not in a bad way. I wouldn't say it was ever like boring or slow. It just, there's so much going on, and it's so densely packed that looking back over it, it feels like at least 3 hour movie, because so much is going on.
Yeah, they pack a lot in. They really do. And I don't know about you guys, I didn't really get bored during it, to be fair. I was kind of hooked the whole time, and the time kind of flew by for me. I don't know. It just sort of came and went, and I was like, wow, I've just ingested some kind of hearty meal, and I loved pretty much every second of it. And it's all connected, and I feel this is quite similar in a way to the director's previous movie, because this is part of a trilogy, and the first one in the trilogy, I believe, is Amores Perros, and that movie is kind of structured the same kind of way as this, where it's you get all these people with their different stories, but they all interconnect. And like Darcy said, it's really, really depressing. And
yeah, I mean,
hey, I love a good depressing movie as much as the next guy, so I didn't really mind that.
Yeah, there was a lot going on, but I mean, obviously there's 4 parts of this film, and what I mean by that is like there's 4 subplots going on or whatever. Did anyone have a favourite part? Because I know I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My favourite bit was Chieko's.
Yeah, I definitely prefer the Japanese story.
Japan. That was like the bit I found like the most powerful and emotional.
Yeah, it was the most gripping to me, I think, which is bizarre because it seemed to be the most I wouldn't even say like common like story, but you've seen it in films quite a few times, whereas you don't normally see people in the Moroccan desert shooting goats. Do you know what I mean? But I just found something more interesting about the human aspect of disabilities and stuff like that. And the Japan itself, I'm enthralled by Japan. I'm in love with it.
Yeah, her plot's like she's obviously deaf and mute, and she's kind of an outsider because of that. She like has a really hard time talking to guys because although she's like attractive and like guys constantly like want to come up to her when they find out she doesn't speak and she can't hear them, they're always put off. And she's just a very lonely person. Her relationship with her father's very strained. I think partly or maybe mostly because her mother killed herself not long before, and she kind of just spends the whole film just longing for just anything, and she's kind of tries it on with multiple guys. Like there's a bit where she's in the dentist's office and she starts trying to make out with the dentist, which was like a very cringy bit, and I found
like
that
sticks her tongue in his mouth or something.
Yeah, and tries to stick his hand down her areas. It was just it was not fun.
But one of the first scenes you see her in, there's like a group of guys that come over to talk to her, and when they find out that she's like mute, they're not interested, and in retaliation because she's so frustrated, she like goes in the bathroom, whips off her underwear, and then just sits by this table and just shows off her vagina to him. That bit was really funny. I think.
mean, I guess there's a lot to be said in the terms of I think it must be quite difficult to be on either end of that situation, because if you can't like classically sign, and you're not like, but you know what I mean, like if you can't speak to them, it is an awkward situation because you can't speak and they can't. Do you know what I mean? Like there's no conversations to be had because you can't have it.
It's an effort to go through to like acquaint yourself with her, because like maybe you would have to learn sign language, or like you would have to go through extra measures to talk to her when you wouldn't have to do that with someone else, and maybe just people find it like a strain that they don't feel like they want to deal with, which is really sad. Honestly, it's upsetting because she's so lonely. She spends a lot of the time kind of just alone. I mean, she's got like one friend, but her relationship with her dad is, like you said, it's very strained. We don't really see them together a lot. So she just goes out and she tries to have these experiences that she thinks are going to fulfill her, but in the end, it doesn't.
Yeah, there's like a great sequence where she goes to a club with a group of her mates, and it like cuts between what like she can hear and like the sounds of the club. It's playing like a remix of September by Earth, Wind and Fire, and like it cuts between like what she can hear, which is like this very, very low volume like rumble.
It's almost like a bassy sound, isn't it?
It's almost like just like a tiny bit of the bass, and that's it. And it cuts between that and the club, and she's kind of just standing there awkwardly, not really knowing what to do, because obviously everyone else is vibing, they're dancing along to the music, singing along, and she can't hear any of it. All she's got is like the flashing lights and a very tightly packed room. And I thought that whole sequence was quite sad.
Yeah, that must be so unenjoyable, because it's like being the only sober friend in a group full of drunk people.
And then her friend goes ahead and betrays her. She's like, you know, this guy that you liked that we brought along because you wanted to get with him? Well, now I'm making out with him.
Don't you dare, Max. Don't you dare. I felt cheated for her. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah. There's a bit after that. Basically, the ending of her story pretty much leads to her. There's like a police officer who's investigating her father because her father is the person who owns the rifle which shot Kate Blanchett, and the police officer tries to come over to talk to him, and she calls him over in the middle of the night and like just strips down because she like basically wants to sleep with him. And that bit almost made me cry. Like I was really close to tears because that just really upset me when like she just comes out completely naked and he just like sits her down and says no, basically.
I mean, I think he had every right to do that in a sense. I mean, I kind of was predicting the whole movie though. Her whole story arc was kind of predictable.
It was, but that doesn't mean it wasn't.
It didn't hurt any less. I must admit.
It was just sad seeing her like go so low that she's like stripping herself off to strangers in the hopes that maybe they'll sleep with her.
Yeah, that was just... Yeah.
As much as I do like her character, I don't know if maybe you guys can help me with this, but I feel like every story that we see in this is directly affected by the presence of this gun that's been sold. And I don't think that her story in like her going out and like trying to get laid or like doing all these things and taking drugs and drinking, maybe that would have just happened anyway without the influence of the gun. Or maybe
yes, I have a feeling that the story probably should have centered around the dad instead, because he was the one who owned it. There could have been some story about his background with the man that he sold it to, because I can't remember his name.
Well, I think kind of the idea is that obviously he owned multiple guns, which is what Chico's mum killed herself with, and I think that's part of the reason why she is so fucked, because she doesn't have like a female presence in her life who kind of understands what she's going through or to talk to or anything like that, and it's like led to her being as lonely as she is. And maybe if her dad didn't own any guns to begin with, obviously he wouldn't have ended up giving the rifle to the guy who ended up selling it, and B, her mum maybe would still be alive.
I mean, I totally don't agree that she would have still been alive, because she could have killed herself in any which way. They don't even
it's
really
a possibility at least.
They don't even really tell you exactly how, because they change it up near enough every time that someone else is talking to them.
Yeah, she like lies and says that she jumped from a balcony.
I mean, I was fully predicting that they'd come back and she'd be jumped off the bloody balcony herself, but she looked like she was gonna, so I think I'd get half a point.
Yeah, I do like her acting though. Honestly,
she's
what's
great.
her name? Rinko Kikuchi. She went through like a year-long audition process before she got this role.
Oh,
crazy!
Cool.
Like a year long. It's insane.
And Max didn't even tell me what his favourite part was.
Oh, right, yeah. Don't really have one, if I'm being honest. I have a least favourite part, but I don't have a favourite part. I just think it all just works really well together, so I was kind of taking it as like this kind of whole in a way.
What's the least favourite part then?
Okay, we'll get on to the least favourite part. So I don't know if maybe you guys agree, but I didn't really... Well, not that I didn't like it, but I just kind of kept forgetting about like this wedding and the like, Amelia and the maid who like takes the kids to the wedding to Mexico for her son or her brother, I think.
It was her son's wedding,
Yeah, son. I'm just like, every time it cut back to it, I was just like, oh yeah, this is going on. I completely forgot about it.
Yeah, I did like that sequence a lot, but it was like one where it seemed like I kind of kept forgetting that it was a part of the film.
Yeah, I feel like there wasn't tons of screen time for them. Like, you obviously had the 4 stories, but I felt like they were a little bit disproportionate in terms that you'd come back to this like Mexican wedding, and then all of a sudden they were being fucking deported, and there was just like, oh, okay, so that's the end of that one, I guess.
Yeah.
I just felt very unsatisfied. I was like, oh, brilliant.
I didn't feel like completely unsatisfied with how that ended, because as well, it was affected by the selling of this gun and the fact that the kids have it in Morocco, and the dad gives it to them, and they shoot Kate Blanchett whoever she plays, they shoot her, and then that directly leads to them having to go to Mexico with the maid, because otherwise, like, they would have just come home and they would have taken the kids, but because she needed to look after them, these are the results of that. And then unfortunately she gets deported, and that happened because of it was the gun. It was like this butterfly effect that I just love throughout this movie, where just like everything connects very well with each other, and just it connects because like everything is like affected by the other stories that are going on.
Yeah, I'm not sure I've seen a film do that in this way. I've always been a big fan of films that have these like interconnected stories, but I'm not sure I've seen one that has it so tightly interconnected, like so like woven in, where just the whole film's kind of all about this like just butterfly effect almost, where one thing sets off this chain of events.
Yeah, I just think it's a very effective way showing, like, because you could do this type of movie and this type of structure and have it connect, but also this movie takes it a little bit further, and then it actually has like its themes and messages are so well realized. It's like I took it kind of like as how this overarching thing of just violence and how it kind of just affects everyone, and it's all because of this gun, or like the guy who sells the guns, and it can never lead anywhere good. And it shows how violence can just affect everyone, even people that you wouldn't think it could affect. It affects them in all these different ways through like this butterfly effect.
Yeah, like I feel like a lot of the film just kind of shows the effect that just weapons generally have, because apparently like pretty much everyone in the film like owns a firearm in some way. Like how you got the Moroccan Youssef who like shoots Susan. He ends up facing seeing his brother being shot by the police later on. Like you got Chico, her dad who owned a weapon, and that leading to his wife's suicide. You got Santiago, who is I can't remember who the relation between.
That was her nephew.
Her nephew, yeah, who's like he fires a pistol at this wedding, and then that leads to her being deported in the end. Like they show how weapons can kind of like everyone who like owns a weapon or uses a weapon in the film ends up seeing some sort of karma or seeing some sort of like emotional thing happen to him after.
Yeah. And then like Maria's Amelia, she's in the desert with the kids, and then like the kids, I didn't like the child who played like the boy. He was like trying to act sad, but he just pulled this stupid face. Like, I'm sad. I'm sad.
When he was crying. Oh yeah. Lord!
Almost
did they
laughed,
ever find
honestly.
the kids?
Yeah, of course.
I couldn't remember because they only briefly like touched upon it, and then they never mentioned it again. So I was like, did they? I mean, I assume they did because they never bring it up again. But
yeah, that whole like interrogation at the border when they're going from the wedding in Mexico back to California in the United States, that was so tense. Just the police or like border control, like looking through, like seeing the kids in the back. I'm like, oh Jesus, this wouldn't have happened. This wouldn't have happened if these things hadn't like willed it to go this way. It was kind of like fate in a way.
I just felt so bad because it was especially when she was talking about how she was like their aunt or something, and then the kid's like, that's not my aunt, and then all of a sudden it's just like all these like red flags are like flying in my head, like, oh no, she's fucked now. And then Santiago makes it worse by like fucking flying through the wherever they were, the port. Oh my god!
He's just like, I'm out of it. He just speeds away into the desert in the dark.
Yeah, like the thing is, they're innocent as well, but they just made themselves look so guilty. And I know it wasn't her fault because she wasn't the one driving, but Lord above.
Well, he wasn't innocent because he was drunk.
No, I mean, like, well, I mean, they didn't kidnap the kids or anything. That's what I mean. Like, they weren't like, illegal. I mean, apparently they were illegal immigrants, apparently, but you don't know that until later on.
The whole thing from like that perspective of like the police or border control probably looked very sketchy. Even like as they were like saying it, like, are these kids yours?
It was so
and then the kids
dodgy.
are like, no, that's not my aunt. Or like, who are you and who is this guy and why are you here and where are you coming from? It's all like when you frame it in this different way, suddenly you're like, oh, yeah, this actually is pretty weird.
Yeah, I loved the score in the movie. It was done by a composer called Gustavo Santaolalla. I think that's Santaolalla. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he's a great composer. He did the score to Brokeback Mountain and also the Last of Us video games. That's like my favorite video game score. It's just very, very subtle. It's mostly all acoustic, and I think it really accentuates the atmosphere and like tension of a lot of the scenes. Gave me like very Paris, Texas vibes. That score's like very similar to this.
Yeah, really lovely score. A lot of like guitar used in it, or like different like string instruments. There was a point towards the end where it's just showing like the wrap up of all these stories. Almost cried because it was like all this story just comes together. You understand how it all connects, and the music's just going off, and it's just so emotional.
Yeah, it is. Then it leads to the final shot of Chieko and her dad standing on the balcony.
Yeah. It was quite a. I felt like it was kind of bittersweet.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
That was like one of the only shots in the entire film that's not done using a handheld camera. And I think visually, I love the camera work. It's all very, very tightly shot. It's all handheld. It almost looks like a documentary at points, and I think that serves it really well. Richard and Susan's, their entire segment was like shot on 16mm film instead of 38mm. I think the rest of the film was. And it just makes it look a lot dirtier and grainier, and there's something about it that I think just it looks different from the other segments.
Yeah, you want them to feel like they're in a different place than they used to, or they're uncomfortable in this place. So that was probably a very good decision, honestly. There was like 17 days before the shooting commenced in Morocco where they filmed for their scenes. And the family who lived in Morocco, like none of the characters had been cast, and the production crew made an announcement to the nearest town through like the television and radio, and like in the mosques that they needed actors. And then within like the next 24 hours, like over 200 people showed up, and they all wanted to participate. And I think basically all of them are in the movie. They're like principal characters, and they're like also extras. So that all made it feel incredibly authentic.
Yeah, definitely. I am apparently in like nearly every single segment of the film there's like the color red is used like quite prominently. Like Youssef, he wears a red jacket that says Morocco in the back. Amelia wears a red dress herself. Chieko, when she writes notes to people who can't understand sign language, she always uses a red pen. And in that like bus that Richard and Susan has sat on, all the seats are red also.
What does it all mean?
You just reminded me of something that is probably not, well, I mean, it's related to the movie, but it came out of nowhere. But because you mentioned the Yusuf boy, his brother, you know, he got shot by the police.
Yeah.
Did his brother die?
Yeah.
Oh, of course he did. Are you kidding me? He got shot like twice, didn't he?
Yeah, no, I got the impression that he did, but because he didn't actually like die on screen, I was like, did he die or was he just like dying?
I don't know. I don't
sure
really
he
want like
die on screen.
I didn't want like a whole close-up thing of him like as the light fades out of his eyes. You know?
No,
it was depressing enough already.
Gets shot twice and then stops moving, so I don't think he's alive after that.
Well, yeah, maybe so.
It was a horrible
I don't know.
scene.
I just there was part of me that was just like, oh, maybe he just felt really bad about like getting his brother in trouble and getting him shot. Like, I didn't actually know if he had actually died, so to speak.
Yeah.
But
it was so sad. That was when I was just
awful.
I was defeated at that point. I was like, oh, for crying out loud. I just want to go to sleep.
Yeah, I kind of wanted it to end. I'm not gonna lie. Like when the second he got shot for the second time, I just went, "Oh, here we go."
Yeah, it probably didn't help how late in the day we watched it. It was like 9 o'clock.
It was very emotionally taxing. I had nothing left. I had absolutely nothing to give after that. So I think I was wiped out.
Yeah. And then Michael Pena shows up.
Indeed, he does.
Like a scene. I guess this is not when he was like so well known for.
Who?
I don't know, Chips and Ant-Man.
You asked this exact same thing when he brought it up during the film.
Oh, for God's sake!
He's Ant-Man's Latin American friend, who speaks loads and has montage sequences in both films. It's really annoying.
I've just remembered who you're talking about,
really
and
epic,
I do reckon.
You mean?
Yeah, I remember his epicness.
Just like Ant-Man.
No, that's right. I actually forgot about that entirely, but that's probably because I didn't know who he was the first time round.
Yeah. Like Max said earlier, this film's like part of a trilogy called the Trilogy of Death, I think it is, along with Amores Perros and 21
You're the one who told
Grams.
us, Chris, that it was from that. Okay.
Which I knew about and then completely forgot about until I was like reading the trivia. But all three of the films are collaborations between Alejandro Iñárritu and a writer called Guillermo Arriaga. And apparently they had a huge falling out because of this film, because they constantly kept arguing over like credit of authorship, because Arriaga believed that they both should be credited for the film, whereas Iñárritu said that he deserved sole writing credit for some reason. And I think in the end he ended up banning Arriaga from going to Cannes to watch the film.
Oh my God. What the hell?
Yeah.
What a
good director, but he sounds like a bit of an arsehole.
Yeah. Oh, man.
No comment.
It's always the way it works, though. The best director's always the biggest dicks, just like Roman Polanski.
Yeah, I've heard many a story about him.
Yeah, he's not a nice guy.
Oh, at least David Lynch seems like a nice guy.
Yeah.
If not totally
nuts,
insane.
But
yeah.
It's really nice.
I'm reading his memoirs at the moment, and he's a very batshit insane man.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. He gives off that vibe. Another movie with Brad Pitt in it. He plays Richard, who's like the husband of Cate Blanchett. He puts on a fantastic performance.
Yeah,
well, I was ever in doubt of like his acting chops, but man, he was good.
No, I'm quite impressed at Brad Pitt, because I don't really, when I think of like great iconic actors, Brad Pitt never really springs to mind, but I'm starting to change my mind on that actually.
I was never really a big fan of him until like a couple of years ago. I don't know what it was. I think it was rewatching Seven or something. I just was like, you know what, he's a great actor, because obviously he's amazing in 12 Monkeys, which we also reviewed on this podcast. He was really good. I haven't watched it, so
he's great in Snatch as well.
He was really good in The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, another David Fincher movie.
I haven't seen it. Yeah. Well, actually, I've seen parts of it.
Yeah, he's just a really good actor. He is great in this as well.
I think, he's a bit underrated, actually, I would say.
Yeah, I really appreciated that in this film he wasn't like dolled up to look like this really great looking person. He just looked very normal. I think because like
he looked exhausted, like the entire time he looked exhausted. Yeah. His hair was grey.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that is exactly how it should have been as well. Could you imagine looking really glamorous and being like, "Oh, I'm in Morocco and my wife might be dying, but I've got to look really good."
Yeah, because he's like this. Why? He's like a big star. So obviously, in a lot of films he's in, he's made to look like really great, even despite how old he actually is. Like kind of like George Clooney and Tom Cruise, how they're always dolled up to look really nice, but they don't do that in this film. They make him look natural, and I think that makes him much more believable.
Yeah, There was a part where he's on the phone in the hospital after his wife is in like surgery to get this bullet out of her. And he's like on the phone to his son, and he's just like up against the wall, just like sobbing while his son like tells him like about his day. I like, almost died crying.
Yes,
It was such a fantastic performance.
I was sitting there and I thought, if I cry now, I'm going to get bullied.
Yeah.
But apparently, you two
I
were nearly
can't
there
cry
as
in
well.
front of these guys.
I was tearing up.
Yeah, we should have all just cried.
I was determined not to be the first person to cry while watching a film
I
for the
really
podcast.
nearly did. There was something about that really got me, because I don't know about you guys, but sometimes when I'm watching a film and someone is really upset about something personal, I think about what it would be like if I was in that situation, and I think it nearly set me off, because I was like, if that was me, I don't think I'd even make it to the phone.
Yeah.
I really don't.
It's a horrible situation to be in.
It is. It was also like just up until that point, we've collectively, all of us together, watched like 10 minutes, 2 hours and 10 minutes of this. We're so invested. Obviously, we're going to be a bit, emotionally fraught. So
Yeah.
I'm not really surprised that we're all thinking about crying.
And obviously, the way the film's structured, it's like in a non-chronological order. It kind of just jumps around timelines, and there's like multiple scenes of like people in this village rumoring that Kate Blanchett's character's died, and you kind of feel like that's where the film's heading. Like you feel like that's what's going to happen. She's going to die, and you're kind of just waiting for that to happen. And I think that's what made it more upsetting for me.
Yeah, it's good that they perhaps end the movie not at the end of like the story per se.
Yeah. I feel like their plot is like the one that has like a positive ending, which makes sense because going back to the thing about everyone who like owns a weapon or something throughout sees some sort of karma. They're the only people in the film that don't have a firearm or anything, or aren't really connected to it. They're just kind of like the innocent bystanders who've been affected by someone else's actions.
Yeah, just upset, man. I was just so upset seeing Brad Pitt crying, Kate Blanchett fading away.
Yeah,
it's like they put up with all this shit. They just wanted to go on holiday, and like this has happened, and they've got
the
all
whole
like the
thing was
political stuff to
just-
deal with in Morocco because nobody's going to come to their aid because they like the American embassy hates Morocco or whatever.
I think it was
then,
the
like,
other way
they've-
around, to be fair.
Oh yes, yeah.
I think it's that, and also because the fact that the gun was originally from Japan. So
yeah.
you got that just kind of complicates things massively.
And then there's like this time crunch type of deal going on because like they're on a coach and the coach needs to get somewhere. They're just trying to tell the people on the coach to like stay with them.
Arsehole travellers, Max.
You're like this
my
fat English
God.
guy with like
With
a
the
fanny pack. He's like complaining that they're taking too long. I'm like, she's been shot.
He didn't
Have some
care.
heart.
At first, I was kind of like, okay, this seems like a bit too like. A bit too much of a character, but then I was like thinking about it. I was like, no, I know I've met so many people like this.
But then I went to
Especially
town the
in
next day and I
Britain.
realised it was completely accurate.
Saying that though, I think in that kind of situation, I don't think I would have been such an arsehole about it, but I probably would have been quite scared to be there myself, because in theory you are in a dangerous part of somewhere that you like. If someone tries to shoot you or kill you, you're basically fucked.
Yeah.
I would have
wouldn't
been.
gone
I would have been
about it.
uneasy, but I wouldn't have been
Yeah,
like an
yeah.
arsehole.
No, 100%. Like, at the end of the day, someone's been shot and they might die, so you would go about it with some sort of dignity, wouldn't you? But apparently not.
Yeah. That's what
I
you get
wanted to
when
get to
you're
the Moroccan
a
whorehouse.
middle-aged fat white man.
Hey! Yeah, that, do you know what? Don't you start with middle-aged fat white men. Fucking
That's
think they
what we're
rule the
going to rate
world.
this film out of.
Out of
I'm
fanny
gonna rate it out
packers.
of
Yeah.
dickheads.
Speaking of which, do we have anything else to add to this film?
I don't, but
No, we can wrap it up.
Nice. So, rating it out of fanny packers. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a really great movie. I'm not sure I like it as much as Birdman or The Revenant, but I love those films so much. So the fact that I don't like it as much as those two is kind of a testament just how talented this director is. I really need to watch more of his stuff because I've only watched those 3 films and I love all of them. But yeah, this is incredibly well made, incredibly well executed, just fantastic movie. I'm going to give it 10 fanny packers out of 10.
Yeah, nice. Epic. Yeah, I wasn't expecting to like this movie that much. Maybe I'd like it even more on a second go round when I know what I'm getting myself into. But I would really recommend it, honestly. It's a bit of a commitment, time-wise, but well worth it. I'll give it 9 fanny packers out of 10.
Yeah.
I was actually pleasantly surprised about how much I liked this film, considering how little I knew about it, how long it was going to be, and just in general, films that I don't. So basically, if they don't have like a subject or a theme of like interest, I tend to find it quite difficult to get into them or stay interested in them.
Just like the next movie.
Exactly, but in theory, I actually think I would watch the other 2 films that are in the so-called trilogy just to see them, because I do like films that actually do sort of like interlink together. But the only thing I don't like about the film is just how long it is. I can't. I have the attention span of a squirrel, and I think a lot of people like me will struggle to sit through a film that long. If you are going to watch it, I'd recommend watching it in 2 parts. If you are like me, if you're normal, just watch it and you'll be happy with it. Because of how long it was, I think I'll give it a 9 out of 10.
Nice. Still very high.
But if you're crazy, maybe you'd give it a go in one whole thing.
Yeah.
I honestly find it so difficult to sit for a film, guys. I know that you guys sit with me and you guys watch it with me, but when I'm at Max's, I try to be quite polite about it. But when I'm watching a film with Chris, I will constantly fidget. I will move around constantly.
Yeah, if we're like lying on the bed, she'll like end up like go from lying to like sitting like on the other side of the mattress.
And then I will go sit somewhere else, and then I'll get up, and then I'll sit back down. I can't do it. I physically find it too difficult. I don't know what it is. I just can't do it. I get it.
I mean, honestly, it's like a long time commitment, especially when we're doing like all these movies in a row. Like, I kind of just want to. I don't really want to watch like one movie and then one movie and then one movie. I kind of want to. I want to get up and like walk around a bit, or like go to the toilet in between the movies.
Yeah,
just
that's
so
what
I'm
I like
not,
about when we watch them. Is that we get that little break in between where we can just pretend that nothing ever happened and we just walk around for a bit. I think we're gonna have to start doing that, Chris. I think after every movie or after every hour, I'm gonna have to start getting up and walk around. I've now got my movie request sitting in my hand because I can finally introduce this movie that I don't remember, and I'm still sorry about it to this day. I can see that everyone looks really impressed right now.
Yeah. Do you want to jump into it?
Lord above. Right, so I went into the CEX and I picked up this movie. I saw it on Max's watch list and I thought it was going to be brilliant because it had both Nicolas Cage and Gary Sinise in it. However, we'll talk about why that wasn't the case. We have a movie directed by Brian De Palma. It's from 1998 and it's called Snake Eyes. What did we think of this movie, guys? This brilliant movie.
Take it you're not even going to attempt to describe the plot.
Okay, sorry, right.
Because I don't blame you if you can't. I literally have no clue what happened.
I have Letterboxd up here to help me out. I do know the gist of the movie, but okay, fine, I'll start. So essentially, a homicide cop, played by Nicolas Cage, called Rick Santoro, goes to a boxing match and he witnesses a corporate government murder of I don't know what he actually was. I don't know if he was like a senate or like a mayor, or he was someone in the government that gets murdered by some people. This is going well. And Nicolas Cage's character teams up with Gary Sinise's character, who is a commander, and they try and find out who the murderer is. So, what did we think about the movie, guys?
And what is it? Like an hour and a half long? Hour and 40 minutes?
98 minutes, Max.
Yeah. And we watched about half an hour, 40 minutes at 1.5 times speed because it was so boring. None of us were paying attention to it. We didn't really understand what was going on. We didn't understand like the story. And Nick Cage, I mean, I love the guy, but Jesus Christ, he was bad. He was bad and not good Nick Cage bad, but bad. Didn't understand what was going on with this movie. And like Brian De Palma directed Scarface. I'm like, this guy? I hated every second of it. Hated every second of it, man. It was awful.
Brian De Palma is a very, very inconsistent director. I think I've only watched 3 other films by him. Those were Scarface, Carrie, and Mission Impossible. And I think out of those, I only really like Scarface. But, yeah, film's fucking shit.
It's so incredibly boring. Do you know, I actually had high hopes for it because after watching such an emotionally taxing movie, I thought, okay, this is actually quite funny because Nicolas Cage starts it up by being really funny. And then about 15 minutes in, it starts wearing off a little bit. And I'm like, oh, he's making the same joke again. And then after that, it sort of teeters off into just hell. It's just awful.
It starts off with him doing what you expect from Nicolas Cage, like being super over the top and ridiculous. And that stuff, I was like, oh, this is hilarious. This is going to be a great movie. And it's like he just gives up. And he's just like phoning it in for the rest of the movie. And that was just the point where the film just like rapidly took a nosedive. And that was when I just stopped giving a shit because nothing was really interesting at all.
No.
I think everyone gives up. Everyone gives up about halfway through the movie. They were doing like this kind of gimmick where they would do... Well, yeah, even earlier than that, honestly. But they were doing this gimmick with a camera where they were doing like one-shot takes. And it would just be like, why is this here? What purpose does it serve in the movie? And after a certain point, you just like, you lose track of the fact that it's a one-er because like, I think the purpose of a one-er is to convey momentum. Like I was thinking even to like the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode where they do a one-er, and it's in that it's to convey like the momentum and like the fast pace of everything, and they've got to get everything done. But with this, there's no drive and there's no purpose to it. So I'm like, why are you doing this? If just I forget about it instantly. There's no point to it.
It's just that weird inconsistency with like the POVs as well, because who are we meant to be and who are we meant to see in this film?
Yeah, there's like multiple bits where you're just like, there's just a POV shot where you're like in some character's body and you're being spoken to. And like every time they did it, I was like, who even are we supposed to be in the mind of at the moment? The thing about Brian De Palma is that even in his weakest movies, there will be some sort of like creative cinematography in a way, but I don't think it really adds anything to the film. Like there's multiple split diopters and stuff. There's like multiple long takes. There's just multiple like POV shots where you'll be like from the perspective of a character and then it'll just randomly go to third person. And I think all of that stuff's like, it's well executed and well done, but none of it really is needed at all. None of it adds anything. It kind of feels like it's just there to distract you from the fact that what's really happening is just bland and nothing.
It's like Enter the Void, where it pans over like the rooms in this stadium type place, and then like the camera's just going over the rooms, looking at people in different rooms. I'm like, this is like Enter the Void. This is like when they go into the Love Hotel and Enter the Void. But at least it had some purpose to it. I don't know what this movie is trying to say. I don't think it has a voice. I don't think it has a purpose, and I don't think that I just don't get any kind of like care to it. I don't feel like people cared. And that's my biggest problem with the movie, is that it feels bland and uninspired, and it feels like no one cared. So why make the movie in the first place? Because the story is uninteresting, and the acting is bad, and there's nothing technically interesting going on. Maybe Brian De Palma was just like, I want to do a movie and I want to make some long one-take shots. Okay, but why? What's the point and why this movie?
Yeah, I felt like there was almost like nothing keeping me watching this film other than the fact that I was sitting with used to watching the film. Because I didn't enjoy anything.
The only thing that kept me going was the fact we had to finish it for the podcast.
Yeah. And if Max didn't put it on 1.5 speed, I think I would have fell asleep.
Yeah. I felt super close to falling asleep, even at 1.5 times speed. And I'm never like that during films. Even the most boring films I can normally power through, but this was just so dull.
There was just nothing there. Like, I had such high hopes, right? I love Gary Sinise, and I tolerate Nicolas Cage because he could be funny. But there was nothing happening here. The dynamics were weird. Like, there was... Like, the dialogue was weird, the acting was weird, even the plot twist came out of fucking nowhere. There was just nothing in it for me. That Gary Sinise was the bad guy the whole time.
Oh, okay.
Exactly. That is exactly it. It was just what? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
What's the point?
There is nothing original in this movie that you've not seen in any like conspiracy sort of movie like this. That there's no reason for this film to exist. Like, there's probably 100 films that do similar things to this 1,000,000 times better.
Yeah, I don't know how they expected to make a movie that was so boring that, I mean, they probably did think it was boring when they made it, but I'm struggling to actually trying to say what I'm trying to say, but it's one of those, like, if I'm not interested in it, or like they're not interested in it, why am I gonna keep watching this movie? Like, what's gonna make me pick up Snake Eyes and watch it?
Exactly. Even I feel like Nicolas Cage is like giving 100% into this character, just like screaming every other word. He's like, Rick Santoro, my name is Rick Santoro. It's Rick Santoro, you hear me? My name is Rick Santoro. And I'm like, what's this guy's name again? I don't think he said it enough times. And I'm like, how can you give this much effort to a performance and for it still to lack any kind of emotion?
Yeah, there was... Honestly, when I say there was nothing in it in this film, I was reading like reviews on Letterboxd beforehand, and I thought, okay, people are rating this just, what's it, like 2.5 is average, or is 3 average? I don't know, one of the two.
I think
and
3.
Yeah, it's about a 3.1 or something. And okay, yeah, fair enough, average. So I went in thinking, it's going to be funny average. It's going to be shit Nicolas Cage, Gary Sinise, popcorn, average, maybe funny, just shit, right? And then you go in, and I read all the reviews, and I was like, okay, cool. And then I watch it. I'm not watching the same thing that they're watching, I don't think, because I just did not feel it.
I was hoping we'd watch it and like find some hidden gem, because like, everyone was giving it really positive ratings on Letterboxd. It seems to have like some sort of following. So I was hoping we'd like watch it and we'd all be like super surprised at how like great and interesting it is, but no.
Yeah, I had such high hopes, and I'm actually so disappointed because I was looking at all these other films that I thought would be like a great meme. Like, you know, Chris was picking all this stupid shit as well, and I thought, oh, maybe I could pick a stupid shit. I didn't, and I wish I had instead.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's no Invisible Kid.
Nothing is.
That is true, nothing is.
Apparently the character that Gary Sinise plays was originally written for and offered to Will Smith. He was originally going to play it, and he backed out to be in a different film instead. So then they offered it to Al Pacino, who also declined it.
I actually think if Will Smith was in it, it might have been marginally better, but not because I don't like... Not because... Right, listen, right? Because I don't like... Because obviously I love Gary Sinise, don't get me wrong, right? But I have a feeling that because of how shit the film was, if it was Will Smith and he had done it over the top as well, there might have been something. I'm just clutching at straws, I really am. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Apparently the only reason he wasn't in it was because he asked for $12 million to be in it.
Who, Will Smith?
Yeah, and the production company laughed at him.
How much were they paying Gary Sinise to be in this shitfest?
Probably
a sandwich.
Like a fraction of that.
Jesus.
A
So
hearty
we'll buy
high
you your
five.
lunch and a bus ride home.
He was Lieutenant Dan. That man was Lieutenant Dan. More respect, please, in the chat.
It's also the Of Mice and Men guy.
Yeah.
Larry, Barry,
Lenny.
Lenny. No, the other one.
George.
George. That's it.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a point where like they're going crazy because like there's been a shooting in the boxing arena, and then like Nick Cage, because he's a cop, he's like, "Get out of here!" to some guy, and the guy's just like, "Ah, screw you!" and then Nick Cage punches him to the floor for disobeying him.
Like a true cop.
What the fuck? Yeah. It's like, yeah, got it right. Well done. And the woman from Spy Kids is in this. I don't know if we've talked about her yet, but she's not very good.
Which one? The redhead or the other one?
The other one.
Yeah, she's
I don't know
the
her name.
mum in Spy Kids.
Yeah, I don't know.
I saw Spy Kids too long
She played
ago.
a character called Julia, apparently.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
the blonde one that was actually not blonde. Yeah.
So she's like talking to Nick Cage on the stairs for like half the movie. It just keeps
Literally,
cutting
it was
back to like them talking on the stairs. I'm like, how
Yeah.
long have you been here?
Yeah, did that scene not feel so long to anyone else?
The whole film felt so long, so honestly, somehow this felt longer than Babel did, and Babel was over an hour longer.
Way over an hour longer. Isn't that embarrassing?
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just don't. I literally got nothing out of it. And that's, I just hate movies like that. I hate movies like that. At least with The Invisible Kid, it was like, haha, this is stupid. But this is like, it's draining my soul. There's like a point where like she's like trying to hide or something. She's like chatting up this fat guy she sees at the casino. And she's like, we got to go up to your room. And he's like, haha, score. I'm like, you're a little bit deluded, my friend.
Yeah.
Oh,
the guy
the
from
Malcolm in the Middle.
Yeah,
so
so
one
like,
of the characters from that.
Yeah.
he takes her up to his room and he's like, now we're gonna get freaky. And then she like turns him down. She's like, I don't want to do this right now. He's like, what's wrong with you? She's like, what do you think this is, a bus stop? I'm like, you really thought you were gonna get some action, man? And the music in that scene is going like blah 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 blah. I was like, what the hell is happening here?
The music in general is awful. Like, it just sounds really cheap, like it was just recorded entirely on a cheap keyboard.
I don't remember any of it.
I've like found that in so many like films of its time, especially ones with lower budgets. They just all sound like really, really cheap, almost like it's made like for a TV show from the 80s or something. It just sounds awful.
Yeah, it was really bad. And I extend that to like the sound effects as well. They wouldn't even show the fight, just like had like off-screen sound effects that sounded just like stock punching.
I mean, I think that's the worst part about this film, is that at least from a bad film, you can rant about it and talk shit about it and even laugh at it. But with a film like this, I just wasted like an hour of my life I'm never getting back. And for what? What am I even talking about right now? We're talking about a film that has no substance.
Yeah, at least The Invisible Kid, for as bad as it was, I do genuinely think the director was passionate about it and he wanted to make something that he thought would be funny and that people would like. I don't get that out of this film. I feel like Brian De Palma just wanted to make something for the money and didn't give a shit. There's also like, it was co-written with him and David Koepp, who's like quite a prolific writer. He's like wrote the first 2 Jurassic Park movies. He wrote the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie, the first Mission Impossible, War of the Worlds, Panic Room, the last Indiana Jones movie. It's like loads of big movies he's written, and like
he should just
you'd
be
expect
ashamed.
some sort of quality, I guess, even if most of those films aren't very good.
No, but at least I guess in a sense those films are iconic, and I don't know, maybe people do maybe they quote them, I don't know, but there was just, honestly, when I tell you there was nothing, I don't even know why we're still talking about this movie. There was just nothing here. I learned
There was a
not
bunch of
single
like
goddamn
blurred
thing.
shots from like the perspective of Spy Kid's mum. Just like every so often it would cut to like her perspective and all the shots would be just blurred and out of focus. Or like, why is this happening?
I don't even remember that.
No, I don't remember it either.
I don't remember almost anything about this movie.
No.
Like, I've got a few notes written down. I had less notes than any other film. And like going back, I can kind of remember some of them, but for the most part, this film's just a blur.
I'm not going to lie to you, Chris. Looking at your notes, that's actually more notes than I thought you would have had, because there was not a single thing that I would have noted down from it.
Yeah.
There was just there was nothing to talk about. There was nothing to. There was just, like, I don't remember the music. Don't really remember the acting. I don't remember what Gary Sinise's fucking character was called. Nothing. There was nothing there.
To be fair, I think about half an hour in, I stopped taking notes because I was like, what is there to talk about?
Yeah, there's nothing.
It's just the same thing going on over and over again, and it's just such a bland, mediocre, nothing movie. It's the worst kind of movie where it gives you nothing to talk about. Like, it goes beyond just being like a badly made movie to being just like super painfully average movie that's just painful to watch.
And do you know what the worst part must be? There are probably, I know, like, no one listens to this, but like, if there are like,
what are you talking about?
No, but I mean, like, if there are like any fans of that movie, I feel like it has some sort of like weird cult following that they're all gonna get us like, we're gonna get like Cool Cat Saves the Kids done to us, where like Brian De Palma's like banning us from talking about any of his movies and cease and desist in the mail. You know what I mean? Like,
He doesn't care.
No,
he's
but
probably
I
in his
mean,
80s. He probably doesn't even know what the internet is.
No, it's just
It's like, what's Snake Eyes?
He's forgotten about his own film, and I think
I did.
honest to God, if I didn't, I'm lost for words, guys. There's just nothing left.
Yep, and with that, I think we can get onto the ratings. I don't want to talk about this movie anymore. We're going to do it out of, what's his face? Rick Santoro's.
Rick Santoro's.
Sure. Yeah. It's just a nothing movie. It's just garbage. Because obviously we bought the film from CEX. I took it home. Well, we took it home with us, and Darcy just left it in my bag. So I just donated it to charity because I was like, I don't want this.
No one wants your movie.
We're never going to watch it again. I didn't even take the CEX stickers of it. I just threw it in the charity bin.
You inflicted this punishment onto others.
Yeah. Maybe someone out there will find that DVD and like they saw it years ago and loved it, and they'll pick it up and they'll cherish it forever.
Or they'll say, Snake Eyes, what's this about? And they'll Google it and they'll find the Sunday Movie Marathon episode 34.
Maybe they'll watch it and go, why are there just random like scenes where there's just lines on the screen out of nowhere?
Oh yeah,
because that kept happening on the DVD. There'd just be like a random black line across the side of the screen, or like it would freeze and stuff.
Although I would actually like to just say sorry to whoever finds this film.
Yeah.
I mean, you might like it, but I'm sorry.
1 Rick Santoro out of 10.
Yep.
If it wasn't for the somewhat creative cinematography, I probably would have given it a 0.
It's one of the worst movies we talked about.
Yeah, somehow.
But yeah, it's really bad. Don't watch it. 1 Rick Santoro out of 10.
1 out of 10.
Yeah.
Nice and straight to the point. We love it.
There was no closing statement from me.
Yeah, I feel like we summed it all up. There's nothing to add.
We've said it all. And with that, that's the end of the episode. What a list of movies we've reeled through today. So that's that. And if you've been listening to these episodes, you might have heard that episode 35, we're going to be talking about Westworld Season 1. So that's coming in episode 35. We're going to talk about the first season of Westworld. So if you've not watched that, go ahead and watch it. We've been watching it.
It's 10
no
episodes.
spoilers, yeah, it's 10 episodes. Not too much of a commitment, I would say. But yeah, so do that. We'll be talking about it. We got our social media accounts. We got YouTube, the Sunday Movie Marathon. We got Twitter at Sunday Movie Pod. Facebook is at Sunday Movie Marathon. And Letterboxd is at Sunday MM. Watch Bo Burnham's Inside instead of Snake Eyes.
Yeah,
that's a lot better.
100%.
Cheers.
Also, a tin teardrop.
Bulbous also tapered.
That's right.